Hiya, for and welcome to your art lessons again for this week. This week we're going to start applying all of our learning, all of our skills that we've done across the last few weeks to begin creating our river scene using pointilism. So, thinking back to what we've done so far then, I want you to just have a look at these two images that you can see here. Obviously, they've both been created using pointilism, but across the last few weeks now, we've got really good at looking at colour mixing, looking at blending, looking at shading, and looking at layering. So I want you to see if you can spot each of those skills in the two pieces of artwork that you can see here. How can you see how these artists have created them? And obviously, as we know, that both of these images have used pointillism. So let's see what we can spot. So already, if I look closely at the rainbow here, I can see some examples of colour mixing going on in the rainbow, because while there is a shade of red, I can also see that there's some darker red. So we might have created some tones there. And I can see there's also some lighter shades moving into slightly pinky colours as well there. So obviously some white has been added to that in order to make that colour mixing happen. So we can see some tones and some different tones created using those colours there. Also, if I look closely in terms of the blending, particularly when I look in the water here, I can see so many different colours that have been used, that have been blended together. So I can see some white here to show the reflection in the river. I can see some darker blue and some lighter blue, and all of those colours have been blended together, just like you practiced last week. If I look really closely again, I can see some examples of some shading happening here. It's almost like there's a shadow that's been created from the tree in the background, or perhaps from the hill on the other side of the valley here. So I can see some darker green, and I can see those dots have purposely been put a lot closer together in this area to create that shading effect. And I can also see that layering happening. I can see that the blue background in the sky here has been built up with some white layers here for the clouds. I can see that the rainbow is layered on top of that. So the artist has been quite specific in the different skills that they have used. Okay, so I just want you to have a pause of the video in just a moment, and I want you to have a look at these images here. Okay, so I want you to think about those skills that we've just talked about, the colour mixing, the blending, the layering and the shading, and see where you can find those examples from these videos here. So from these images here, sorry. So pause the video now and see what you can spot. Okay, what did you see? I can see this is a famous piece of artwork here from George Seurat, one of the artists that we studied a few weeks ago, and we can see he's been a real expert in really building up the layers of the colours here, particularly in the detail of the background. I can see lots of shading around the tree here. I can see some more shading on the grass here, and I can also see lots of blending in the trees of all the different shades and of all the different colours that have been used there as well. And I'm sure you spotted something similar in lots of the other images. So, what do all of these images have in common? That's right, they're all river scenes, and that's exactly what we're going to be creating for our artwork. Over the last half term, we used rivers as our topic for our geography, and I know you're all river experts now with all of those river terms. So we're going to be using that learning from our geography and apply that into our art skills for this week. So we're going to begin to think about producing our very own masterpiece using the pointillism skills that we've learnt about to create our own river scene. So you can see I've popped all of those examples together here so you can get some sort of inspiration about which type of artwork, which piece of artwork you'd like to do. It might be that you'd like some other detail in your artwork, so not just of a river. You might like the idea of the rainbow perhaps, and you can use that idea. It might be that you like the idea of the city in the background from this image here, and you might want to choose that. It might be that you want a boat perhaps on your river, as well. So it's completely up to you. I've provided you lots of different examples of different artists' pointillism so that you can use that as inspiration for your own. Okay, so to begin with this week, I want you to start to plan what you want your piece of artwork to look like. It's exactly like we do in English. Before we produce our masterpiece in English, we'd always produce a plan so that we know what that's going to look like. And I want you to do something similar for your art today. So you'll find this worksheet on the Google Drive for you to use. If you haven't got a printer, just jot down some ideas in note form. That's all it needs. But I want you to use each of the sections on this plan here to really begin to think in detail of what your river scene is going to look like. It can just be a few words and phrases that you add into this format to help you. So the setting, have a think about what do you want in your picture. Obviously there needs to be a river in order to follow our river scene, but what else do you want there? How are you going to set the mood of your artwork? Are you going to include a city in the background like we've said, or some trees? Is it going to be a field like setting? So you choose just a few words in that box there to be able to say exactly what you want. What time of year is it going to be? And that's going to really reflect on the colours that you choose to use. Obviously, if you're going to have a nice summery day, lots of blue sky, some sunshine perhaps, but it might be that you want a colder sort of image. So if that's the case, then you might think about the different colours that you're going to choose for the colder, perhaps more purples and lilacs and blues perhaps, with your colour mixing coming in there. That also links into what atmosphere you're trying to create. Do you want a really nice, warm, summery image? In which case you might choose the yellows, the reds, the oranges, because they produce that warm feeling that we've talked about already. Or if you don't want a warm atmosphere, perhaps you want it to be quite cold. And if that's the case, you might want some greys, some blues, some purples included in there. So really think about what atmosphere you're trying to create and what colours you're going to select to help you to do that. What techniques are you going to include? So now you've had a good go over the last few weeks of practicing, thinking about what it is you found easy, or what challenge you might want to include in there. Are we going to see some blending? Are we going to see some layering? Are we going to see some colour mixing, perhaps? See which of those techniques you're going to choose. Which colours, tones and texture? So which part of your image is going to look 3D? Are you going to think about perhaps creating texture in the tree with all of the different colours that you mix together? Are you going to create some tones in the rainbow, perhaps, if you're going to include a rainbow, a bit like the examples that we've seen? So again, just a few words in there, okay? And then there's just a couple of other boxes on here as well. The main colours that you're going to choose, particularly if you're going to do some colour mixing, so that you can plan that in, but also what other parts of your picture, what else is going to be in your image, okay? So just a few words and phrases added to each of these boxes. This box here, the sketch box, is just for a rough sketch of your main piece of artwork. Okay, so it doesn't need to be really neat and tidy at this stage. It's just so you can just sketch out exactly where you want things on the page, and you can just get an idea, where it is you want your rainbow to happen, where you want your tree, where you want your river to be, and what other things perhaps you're going to plan out. Okay, so it'll be a really good idea to pause the video here, have a go at jotting down your ideas for your plan, and then come back to me to see what the next stage is. See you in a minute. Okay, so I'm sure you've had lots of time now to think about your plan, and you know exactly what sort of an image you want to create. Now's the time to really think about the outline that you are going to produce, that you're going to do your artwork on. So choose a piece of paper. You can choose the size of your piece of paper, A4 or smaller. It's completely up to you. Obviously, the bigger the piece of paper you're going to choose, the longer it's going to take you to do with using your dots and with your pointillism technique, but that's absolutely fine. Any size of paper is fine. Now that you've created your plan, you're going to have a really clear idea in your mind of what you want that to look like. So I've just produced here just an example of a template outline that you can produce for your piece of artwork. So I've not included any shading with my pencil line. I've not added any colour in there. I've literally just used a simple pencil line for each of the images that I want to produce there, so that I've got the basis to be able to fill in with my paint. Okay, so once you've had a go at doing that with your pencil line and you know exactly what you want your example to look like, you're then going to apply all of those skills that you have done. So I've popped these images on here as a bit of a reminder. Think of that colour mixing that we did a few weeks ago. Okay, how are you going to mix colours? Which two colours are you going to add together to create a different colour, particularly if you want to do some mixing of colours for different shades or different blending perhaps on your main image. I've also popped these images down here as a reminder of exactly how that might look when you're blending those colours together, how you can build those layers upon each other. Okay, so start thinking about that perhaps. Okay, think about how you're going to build those layers up. And then finally, this final image that I've got here is your blending. Okay, so think about how you're going to put lots of dots close together to create that image, or perhaps use those dots a bit further apart. Okay, so think about how you can blend all of that together. It's completely up to you whether you choose to use felt tip pens for your final piece of artwork or whether you choose to use paint for your final piece of artwork. You decide what it is you want to produce, but I can't wait to see your final masterpieces. Okay, so I've popped George Seurat's there as a bit of inspiration for you as to what a finished piece might look like. Apply all of those skills that we've learned so far. We look forward to seeing your masterpieces. Please, please, please send them in to us in the year group emails, and I can't wait to see them. Have fun with your pointilism. I look forward to seeing what you produce. Take care, guys. Bye bye.